how you doing? Thanks for downloading the show. Welcome to Garden Fork Radio. My name is Eric. I'm your host. This is an eclectic DIY show. Today we're doing eclectic DIY of urban backyard chickens. My neighbor across the street from me in Brooklyn, Anna, has urban chickens because we are in an urban area and they're chickens. So yeah, I put those two words together. The audio here is a little bit all over the place because I recorded it with my little portable recorder and I forgot to turn on one of the settings, so it's a little clunky, but the content is there. Super interesting about chickens. I learned a whole lot. So here we go.
Maybe some snacks? So I have the snack box over here.
So we have a plastic container
Just
with
like
their food.
garbage cans, you know. So when it rains,
Are those mealworms?
mealworms that are dried for extra protein.
I've seen those for bird food, and these are birds.
Well,
hello.
often we forget. But they love those. So I sprinkle them.
So we're sprinkling them over the fence, and they're at it right away.
Yeah, actually one is missing. She must be laying an egg. Audrey.
I hear a sound in
Yes.
the hen house there.
So she's in there. We can go take a look. It's very funny the look they have on their face when you open the door, and they're laying an egg.
Wow.
They're like, excuse me, privacy. So let's see what we have here. So we're opening that little.
So it's like a little
Door.
third door. Oh, there she goes.
Okay, she's leaving.
We would disturbed her.
And look, we have 2 eggs.
So this is a little access panel to the laying area.
And they're warm.
Wow.
So I'm gonna leave them for now. But basically, with this coop, they each have a little nest.
Yep.
But they always go in the same one. And I researched that. I learned so much because I didn't know anything or not much about chickens. And actually, it's something instinctive because in the wild, it's this lottery, right? If you all lay your eggs together, if there is a predator, you have more chances that your egg will not be eaten.
Wow.
It's wild. And it's also why they do the egg call. So when one lays an egg, she starts making a noise like "Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo." We may not hear it. It's usually early in the morning,
Right.
and it's telling the others, "Go lay your eggs." Very interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are gonna. We can sit here. You guys are gonna eat your little mealworms.
So these are pandemic chickens.
They are.
And
We got them 2 years ago on June 23rd. They were hatched on June 23rd, and on June 25th, I got a call from the post office saying, "We have your birds." They didn't know what they were.
Yeah.
And so I rushed to the local post office, and here they were in a little box, and they were 5 2-day-old little chicks.
Wow.
Adorable.
Yeah.
I mean, the most amazing thing, just like the chirping and the fuzz, and we were all in love with them, like, immediately.
So you have 2 children.
Yes.
And you decided they're both in middle school and grade schools?
Actually, they were both freshmen and sophomore in high school.
Oh, okay, sorry. And was this a spur of the moment thing, the pandemic, or you had thought about it, or?
So, growing up, my mom had chickens. But I think for her it lasted something like 1 or 2 seasons, and I was still too late. I remember going to give them, leftovers and stuff like that. But I also remember being really scared because she had a mean rooster.
Oh yeah.
And then I remember there were no more chickens, and I didn't even know what happened. Then I grew up, and then I got married. I moved to the United States, and then when we were here in Brooklyn, after a while, we moved upstate New York, and I was finally on land, and I'm gonna get chickens now. But then I got pregnant. So I got too busy with, my own little chicks, I guess.
Yeah.
And I kind of forgot about it. And then when we moved here on 47th Street, one of our neighbors, Ralph,
Right.
so he's like 5 houses up from us, got chickens.
Yeah, he's that kind of guy. He's
Yes.
Mr. Outdoorsman.
He's absolutely he's gonna be the guy that hunts, or he's
Yeah.
he's not afraid of wildlife. Let's
No.
just put it that way. And so I would hear those chickens. I'm on my deck drinking my morning coffee, and I hear that noise. That reminded me so much of Europe and
all
growing
right.
up, And I was like, oh my gosh, we always wanted chickens. So we went to visit Ralph's chickens. We saw his little installation. His chickens were less lucky than mine because he doesn't have access to land. He's on a deck.
Right.
And so he had the coop with however much he could, change it every day, like
Right.
wood chips and things like that. But they were in a tight spot,
Right. They had as much space as they could.
Exactly. But nevertheless, it was amazing to see chickens in the city. And so, I had it in my head, oh my God, it would be so good. And then the pandemic hit. And I was trying, we were here at home. I mean, we have a large home and we're really lucky compared to many people.
Right.
But still, I was trying in any ways that I could to bring some joy into our lives,
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe again every morning you're on your deck having your coffee and hearing those chickens, and I just kept telling my husband, we have to do it. This is the time. We're not going away this summer. We have time. We have the space. Ralph does it. He can help me if I have questions.
Right.
And so then my husband said yes. And after that, he had to build a coop.
I remember that.
So I did follow some advice from, now online you get everything, right?
Yep.
But the main advice, and they were so right, is get your coop ready before you get your chicks, because they grow up so fast.
Oh.
And they were right. So we got the coop, we got the chicks, because the chicks, when you get them when they're, 2 days old, you cannot put them directly in the coop.
Right.
So I had them in a box with heated lamps, and it was just so cute. You heard that, choop, 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 and they get used to you right away, like you become basically their chicken mom.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
Yeah, and so you would put your head over the box, and you put your hands, they come to you, you pick them up, they're on you. I mean, you have to be okay with poop. There's a lot of poop,
Poop happens.
Yeah, but it was just so lovely having the kids, they named them, and the chickens were on them, and then you see them also growing. They go through all these phases,
Right.
They start growing feathers, and then we call them teenagers. They look very ugly, and they get like
Awkward.
a chicken attitude, they would run a lot, but it was all so sweet. And then at some point, we started introducing them to the coop. So I did that. I was a very doting chicken mom. I did that in stages. So first, during the day, they were in the coop, but we would still, really look at them. But I would still have them sleep inside at night. I was just I was worried.
Right. It's kind of like when you're introducing plants, seedlings to the outside.
Yes, exactly. And also, we do have squirrels. People warn me about raccoons,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And so when you just started, I don't know, I was a little nervous. But then, at some point they get so big that you can't keep transporting them in our. So then they started, living outside, and it's just been amazing. I mean, now we're used to them, but I remember the first time that I was in the yard when they all started going in for nighttime, and you're like, wow.
Just by instinct.
Yes, and you just see that there's something that changes in the light,
Yes.
and for them, it tells them, whoop, time to go to bed. And it's always it's pretty much always the same one that goes in first.
Probably like the alpha chicken.
And then they line up the same way.
Wow.
In the coop. So in the coop we have 3 rods.
Right.
They're pretty much always on the same one. unless they're fighting, which happens, or unless it's very hot in the summer, they kind of spread around. But it's always the alpha chicken is the furthest away from the door, which again is very interesting. So if there's a predator, the omega chicken gets eaten first, I guess. Yeah, but and also when they're in the coop too, they're very docile. So now that they're big chickens, if I went in there, I mean, they would still come to me because they know me, but it would be harder for me to grab one and hug it.
Right.
But if they're in the coop, you go in and take them, and they usually don't move.
So now you get, like we just saw, there's 2 eggs. So do you get like 4 or 5 eggs a day?
Approximately, yeah. In the winter, you get less.
Right.
Because they use, basically egg is energy, right? So again, it's very scientific or biologically, logical. To produce an egg, you need a lot of energy. So that's why you need to make sure that they have water. Also, there's a lot of water that goes in producing the egg, so they always need water. Heavy protein in their diet, which the chicken feed you buy usually has it.
Right.
And then if the environment is too harsh on them, either very hot or very cold, the energy will be used for that.
To stay cool or stay warm.
Exactly. Yeah. And so you may have less eggs in the winter or in the very top heat of the summer. But I got chickens that are very hardy.
Right, there's different varieties.
Yes. So all of them came from Ohio. And the breeds themselves are hardy breeds. So one is a Rhode Island Red.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Okay. So that's the one, you see she's orangey.
Yes.
Right? So her name is Shelly. And she's a Rhode Island Red. As a chick, she was completely yellow.
Oh, now when she matures, she comes to a regular color.
This one, she's called the Star Red. And same thing as a chick, completely yellow.
So she has brown with white highlights.
Yes, and so you see how she's missing a lot of feathers?
Yeah.
She's molting right now. That's another thing I didn't know happened to chickens.
Oh, yeah.
So they lose their feathers. Some of them lose a lot of them. She just mainly lost them around her neck and a little bit on her back. But the black one that you see right there, whose name is Diane, she's a French black marron. That's the name of them.
That's a great one.
And she lost almost all her feathers.
So it's a skinny chicken.
Whew. And when they do that, they don't feel good at all. It's almost like they have it's not the flu, but it's as if, because so much energy is put in them making new feathers that for something like 2 months, she didn't lay any eggs.
Wow.
Because her eggs are very interesting. They're darker, but they also have spots, as if they were freckles. So I always recognize her eggs. And so for almost 2 months, I never saw a Diane egg. It was interesting.
No freckled eggs?
Yeah.
Do they molt in the summer?
She started molting in the fall, which was a bad season for that. I always thought the molting would be, logically it would be in the summer, but no. And so Shelly, the Rhode Island Red, also molted, I would say around November. Not as drastically as Diane. And then this one also. And the last one, Log Lady over there, the one that's a little like golden.
Yeah.
She just is finishing molting right now. So I would say it's like fall, winter, spring, which is bizarre.
Yeah, I'm just losing my hair in general, so as time goes on. Hey, real quick here, just a reminder, if you're shopping on Amazon, would you consider using the Garden Fork link to Amazon? It links to our storefront there. There are several subsections when you go to that page. I think the most popular one is the tools I use. It's listing my most favorite cordless drill driver kit. There's just some aha moment tools that I put on there. I recently learned about a new kind of a better, higher quality brand of electrical wire strippers that I didn't know existed. And I've kind of beat up mine and I got these and I'm like, oh, these are much nicer. Anyway, there's a link in the show notes to do that, or it's amazon.com/shop/gardenfork. Amazon.com/shop/gardenfork. That really helps us pay the bills. It's kind of a big thing. So think about that, right? Thank you. So they're digging through what looks like, is it like a wood shavings and then some dirt underneath it?
Exactly.
And then do you have to clean that? How often do you have to clean that or replace it? Or
That area, actually, I don't even clean. I just leave it like that. Once in a while, I add wood shavings.
Yeah.
Sometimes I add, if we have leaves, like if I gather leaves in the garden, just to, but it's there. This run that I have, if I was quote unquote a farmer, you would have like 30 chickens in that,
right?
And I have 5. So
yeah.
the ratio poop ground is so large that I don't have to clean every day.
It just breaks down.
Yeah. What I clean every day is the chicken poop because they poop a little bit at night.
Right.
And that I clean. And so there's no smell, right? Do you smell anything?
No, I just hear happy chickens.
Yeah.
And our neighbor doing construction.
And oh my gosh, those chickens are very lucky because our lovely neighbor, next door neighbor, Joe, has an amazing vegetable garden.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. When you leave, you can peek from the deck, and when he weeds or when he has extra stuff, he just throws them over, and so they get greens, organic greens from the neighbors. So it's pretty sweet for them.
I didn't know he had a vegetable. I just saw him yesterday. We were talking about fabricating a new ladder to my roof, and he didn't say anything about a vegetable.
Oh yeah, he actually has 2 greenhouses, little greenhouses he made.
He's holding back on me.
Yeah, no.
I thought he was going to be my new friend. I don't know now. I need a new guy friend because Rick moved off the block.
Oh, yes. Well, Joe is a good one to have.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
It's someone that can use a hammer better than I can.
Yeah.
So if someone was thinking about starting these are essentially urban chickens.
Yes.
And they're legal in New York City.
They are.
Roosters are not.
Roosters are not.
But if someone were thinking about doing this, what are some takeaways, some words of wisdom?
I would say really the most important is to have some dirt because they like to dig, And so even if, how long would you say this is, the whole run?
That's about 25 feet.
Okay, you could even have half of that, but at least a little patch of dirt so they can be chickens.
Right.
Look, all those holes they dig. They dig holes, they lay in them, and it's the thing they do to stay clean.
Right, they fluff with the dirt to keep the insects off.
This area is usually full sun. Today is overcast, so you can see. And you catch them during the day laying in their hole with the feather fully open and just sunbathing. So all this deals with the health of your chicken.
Yeah.
No pests, no mold, whatever can happen to them. That's kind of like, you would be like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now with a, sad, maybe sick chicken? If you have a little bit of the dirt, I think you're fine. So that's the first thing I would look for. The second thing is, because of the rooster issue, try to get chicks. If you want to go the route from chicks to chicken, they're called sexed chicks.
Right.
And that means they absolutely know from the color they have when they're born if it's a male or a female. Because I actually got roosters.
Oh, I remember that.
Yes. And that was very heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because then you cannot keep them in New York City. So we had to rehome them, which is work in and of itself, especially during the pandemic.
During the pandemic.
Oh my gosh.
Free rooster.
Yes, I managed. But it's sad because then you raise that bird and now you have to,
Give it away.
Yes. So there's the sexed chick, but the other route is to get poulette, what they call poulette, and that's a chicken that's old enough that they know if it's a rooster or a hen, but they're under a year old.
Oh, okay.
So that's what we did. So with this one, the golden one, and then the Baird. So she's gray. How would you describe that? Like
Gray
tiger,
and white.
kind of? Yeah.
Yeah, tiger pattern. Beautiful.
Yeah, so those two I got, they were probably 12 weeks old. So they were approximately this size, and I was sure they were not going to be roosters. But then I had to introduce them to the others, which was a little bit of a challenge.
Oh, yeah.
Because chickens they're a little bit like dogs too. It's like a pack,
Yeah.
like a flock of chickens, right? And territorial. So all of a sudden, one of them decided to be like the big mama bully to the little new ones, But again, I had enough room, so I put like
Little divider in
exactly, and it was fine. So that's the two things. The rest, it's easy. It's easier than having a dog.
Oh, I didn't think of it that way.
Because, like I said,
And they don't take up any room in your bed.
exactly. So, the amount of work I put in the chickens per day is less than 5 minutes. You go in, hello. I mean, it's also enjoyable.
Yeah.
You give them some treats, and then you just clean the coop, and then you collect eggs. Like if you can be as hands-on
Yeah.
or as laid back as you want. They do need fresh water every day, of course, so you have to be here. Or if you go on vacation, you need someone, a neighbor. But that's also easier than with dogs, right? Because you can always tell your neighbor, hey,
Free eggs.
free eggs, you just water my chicken, give them fresh water and you'll get the eggs, and it's...
And I noticed there's a chicken wire fence here to keep them in their area, but there's no fencing across the top.
Yes.
And they don't fly out, or?
They usually don't fly. Some of them are a little more athletic. And so the first, so originally I was a little crazy and I had them everywhere in the yard. So my yard has some concrete areas, but I also have
Planted areas.
planted areas with hydrangeas.
Yeah.
And the hydrangeas right now are pretty low because it's early in the season, but they get pretty tall.
Yeah.
So it becomes kind of like Jurassic Park out here for the chickens. They loved being under the hydrangeas, and of course they peck at, everything. But the hydrangeas are big enough bushes that they cannot kill them.
Right.
Because they would kill anything else. Any plant, they just eat it all. And it takes very little time. They're very, they peck at it all day. But then my husband was kind of like, it's kind of gross. We have chicken poop everywhere, and so he decided to build this fence, so to give them a bigger run,
right,
but still an enclosure, so they stay, on that side. And so he did that last summer. So they were a year old, and I have to say a few of them were jumping over once or twice, but this year they haven't done it. So they either forgot or they got a little heavier. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're well-fed chickens. They're not skinny at all. But yeah, other than that, when right before I had to get rid of my rooster, he was the one who flew. It was amazing. He would fly to me. He would be like, let's say on the
top.
On the top, yeah, and I would be here and just would fly to my shoulder. Yeah. Very sweet.
Your prodigal son.
I know. I was very heartbroken to have to give him away, but...
Got to keep the neighbors happy.
Yeah, and he was really, that's another thing. I always thought roosters were always in the morning, like around 6. He was doing that all day and all night.
Yes.
It's a non-stop thing. So I really had no choice. I mean, it was a lot. A lot of the neighbors liked it, I have to say, because we have such a high immigrant population in our neighborhood. But I think there were enough that didn't. That I had to...
And in New York City, you can file a complaint anonymously.
Yes.
So all of a sudden, the city's at your door.
But you see there... so right now, what they're doing, they spend a lot of time grooming.
Yeah, I think that's a thing in the animal kingdom.
And then they would take a little nap. So it's very interesting to watch them. That's part of the pandemic chicken. We spent so much time outside just looking at them. It was like we had our own little zoo.
Yeah.
Because they're nonstop. They walk around. They peck at each other. Even they're
great.
Clean
So
each other.
There's 5 chickens.
Yes.
You got about 5 eggs a day.
Mm-hmm.
And you just, whatever you it's kind of like me with the honey. Whatever honey I don't need, I give away. And it builds neighbor relations.
You become very popular. And so what's interesting with my eggs, so none of the chickens I have right now do those eggs that are blue or green. They're regular brown eggs, except for Diane, like
With
I
the
said.
speckles, yeah.
But the chicken eggs, the eggs that you get from those chickens are, it's very interesting because when you crack the egg in the pan, or let's say in a bowl if you make an omelette, it's so fresh, and I guess they're fed appropriately, that it takes some energy to break the yolk.
Yes, I've noticed that.
And that, a long time ago, I had seen a show on, I don't know what show it was, but something on nutrition, and that was the thing they were saying. Like healthy eggs, the yolk should be firm.
Wow.
Yeah, so we get that. And I mean, we eat eggs pretty much every day because when you have that many, you know. But they're always maximum 2 days old.
Yeah.
I keep them on my counter. They're never in the fridge, and it's awesome. And it's just so good. You know, I was also, obviously I was inspired by Ralph. Then there was a pandemic, but I was really inspired by the Asian population in our neighborhood that use their every ounce of property to grow something. It's utilitarian, like the gardens. You see my neighbor right here? Yeah. He grows so much. And I would look at my yard and it would just be like, okay, pretty plants. But it felt like almost like too much and silly, you know? And now I've got my share of...
Yeah, you got the chickens.
Yeah.
Yeah, my neighbors, 2 up from me, they have what looks like old fire hose draped throughout the yard. I don't know what it is, some kind of fabric or something, but there's a kind of really long zucchini kind of squash that they grow.
Yes. And so we exchange when it's
vegetable season.
Yes. So one of those that he gave me, is it called nufu maybe? I can't remember now, but it's a delicious zucchini style, and if you saute it, you can make like stir fry. It's very sweet. It's delicious, and it's
It's big. It's huge, yeah.
It feeds like a huge family. I mean, it's amazing.
I've seen people sell them in the park. They walk around with a grocery cart.
Yeah. Because they grow it and then sell it. I mean, it's amazing.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, cool. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for coming and visiting my chickens.
So next time you're on, we're going to talk about your photography work.
Yes, that sounds great.
All right, everyone.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
Garden Fork Radio is produced by Garden Fork Media LLC in Brooklyn, New York. Our producer is Sean O'Neill. If you need an amazing podcast producer, visit Sean's site, SeanInBrooklyn.com. That's Sean, SEAN, in Brooklyn.com. Our executive producer is Jimmy Goose. For more information about Jimmy and the custom hollow books he makes, visit hollowbooks.com. The music in the show is licensed from audioblocks.com and uniquetracks.com.